It starts at, do they still serve food till 9? When we were, of course, I'm sounding really old right now. I'm not that old. Ganga had a hostel. I was in Ganga. Ganga had its own mess. And in Ganga's mess, if you didn't show up by 7:30, you would get no food. So 6:45, they would serve. 6:45, all of us, like a pack of hungry wolves, would be there. And we would eat at 6:45, maybe 7 at the most. And then we would get on with the rest of our evenings, right? And so what I would do is actually I would go to the computer center every single day. I didn't have my own computer then, no internet also, right, in the hostels. So go to the computer center every single day, work on my open source, work on my all the other stuff. On Saturdays also I used to, by the way, it's not like I was doing this all the time. I had a lot of fun at IIT. I went out for a lot of movies, hung out a lot, did all those things which I'm sure you guys do. But I just used all the other time that was available to me to just spend in doing something that I truly loved. But yes, I do, I did what is the reverse calculation really. And what do I need to get to 7.x GPA? So that's pretty much. I tried hard to go above 8, by the way. It didn't work. So, yeah.
Thank you. How do you narrow down exactly what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Like, for instance, right now I feel that I'm in the right branch.
Okay.
But I don't really know what I want to do still.
Okay. So first of all, what's your name?
Aishwarya.
Aishwarya. So it's totally okay. And it's exactly what even I felt when I was, you're in your final year or third year?
Second year.
Second year, okay. Actually, let me let you in on a secret, all right? There are many, 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 many batchmates of mine that still don't know what they want to do, all right? It's 11 years later. So I think that it's hard to just say, oh, this is what I want to do. I agree that's much easier said than done. But the thing that I will say is that you have to expose yourself. You have to be willing to explore and do things that maybe give you a shot at finding what you want. Maybe you'll find it after a year, you'll find it after 5 years of working, or maybe after a decade, who knows. But that's not too late, 5 years later is not bad. Or even 8 years later, 10 years later is not too bad. A lot of people actually, what ends up happening, I'm sure you guys know, is that 2 years into the job, they're like, dude, cat, let's get out of here. Let's get to IIM, MBA, whatever, and get out of this. That's what a lot of people do. That's because they figured that's not what they want to do. And then they figure MBA is like the path to some other career, right? Because it pays more money and all that. I mean, it's individual choice. But what I'll tell you is, I know I'm giving you a long-winded answer. What I'll tell you is, you have to be willing to try a lot of things out. You have to have an open mind, If you don't have an open mind, it's very hard to pick up on that thing that perhaps you will really like to do for the rest of your life. And when I say open mind, you should be open even 10 years into your career, right? Lots of people have changed careers after 10 years of doing something. So that's what I think. Yeah? That's a good question, ma'am. Actually, to be very honest, I think it's the norm for students who are graduating to not know what they're doing. I didn't know either. Actually, let me tell you something else, right? Which is, when I graduated from graduate school, right, WashU, St. Louis, I actually wanted to work for a big company. That's what my premise was. I said, I'll either go work at a Google or a Cisco, or maybe Google was not that well known at that time. It's 2002, 2003. I said, how about maybe I go work for a Cisco, or I go work for all the usual suspects. That's what I wanted to do in my, when I was graduating from graduate school, not here. But here I knew what I wanted to do next. Graduate school, I said, I'll go work for a big company and I'll, write lots of code and make a lot of money. I'm joking. You really don't make a lot of money, that FYI, doing coding at a big company. But what ended up happening is, after I did a job at a big company like Morgan Stanley for a while, that's when I realized that I didn't want to be a cog in the wheel. That was also an important thing for me. I didn't want to be one person out of 55,000 people. I didn't think I would learn that much. I didn't think that I would be able to get to where I wanted to get. And so you're right. I mean, a lot of people don't know. I didn't know either. And I also joined the big companies thinking I wanted to work there, and changed my mind. And I think it's okay to change your mind. It's totally fine. Sometimes people think that they can't. I've seen that a lot more in India and a lot less in the US. In the US, you'll find 40-year-olds doing a degree all of a sudden in history. And 50-year-olds suddenly sitting in a class. I mean, I've been with such people in my class. They're very open to, trying something different at a much later age. And I think that's something we should learn from. It's never too late to say, hey, I should try something different. I want to learn how to play the guitar. Yeah, you may be 40 years old and you may really not have the dexterity in your fingers, so what? You can try. Yeah, it's totally okay to not know what you want to do. But spend effort, right? Take efforts. Go to great lengths to find out. Because if you don't find out, you'll just cruise through life and you won't know. Ever. If you just clock the 9 to 5 at some company, at some job that you got out of placement, it's not really rocking your boat. You're just there because, hey, it pays the bills, and then, you go out after work and then you party. A lot of people lead those lives. And it's my opinion that, those people they're not changing the world. They're not doing something interesting and new. They're part of what others people are creating. So you have to choose where you want to be. Some people want to do that. That's fine. And so at least if you don't know, try to find out. If you just let it be, it'll remain like that. And then what will happen is you'll go through life, and I can tell you, since I'm much older than you, you'll get married. Then there'll be another person in your life that will complicate things further. Then you'll say, oh, and then you'll decide to buy this house or whatever, or you'll decide to buy this fancy car, and then all these things will happen, right? And then perhaps you'll have children, right? And then all this will it's exponential, the amount of complexity it adds to your life. I'm telling you, I know it, I've been through it, right? And so some of these things will happen, and then life will just get to you. If you don't figure it out by, say, I'm not saying it's like a deadline, but as these things add up, the inertia increases. Inertia, it's really hard for you to say, I'm going to sell my house, I'm going to sell my car, I'm going to sell everything I have, go do X or go do Y. That was what I had to do, right? I had to just wind up in the US. I just sold everything my wife and I had, and we moved to Bangalore, or we moved some things. But we had to do that. That's something that is a big decision for a lot of people. So, yeah, put effort. I mean, just put the energy necessary into it to find out what it is that you want to do with your life.
Is it true that many girls do not want to marry entrepreneurs?
Actually, great question. I love that question. I'll tell you why. Because I did. No, you're absolutely right. Actually, you know what ended up happening? So I did something which I consider very smart. I got married before I became an entrepreneur. Yeah, really. My wife had no idea what was coming. So when I got married, I was working at Morgan Stanley, right? Yay! Big New York City job and all that. My father-in-law had no clue either. And of course, a few years down the line, we gave them the news. No, to be very honest with you, I'm joking here. My wife and my in-laws and everyone, my parents, everyone, been very supportive. I've been very lucky that way. But you're absolutely right. My co-founder, Sharath, who got married in December, by the way, just this last December, that's a month or 2 months ago, he had a really, I'm being very honest with you, it was, I mean, it is a real issue. Indian society does not value entrepreneurs, entrepreneurship. They think you're out of your mind. And no girl's father, and so if you're going to take the entrepreneurship path, you better have girlfriends. Seriously. Or a girlfriend. One is good enough. Yeah. I mean it the other way. If you're a girl, you have a boyfriend, whatever. But yes, if you don't have that backup plan, yeah, it's a real issue in Indian society. They just think that, that Infosys job is so much better than whatever it is that you're doing right now.
No, I came across this because I was trying for a relative.
Oh, really? Yeah.
They said even if he earns 5,000 and has a job, it's okay.
Yeah.
Not a business.
Right.
Not an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Question?
So what kept you motivating? Let's say once you founded the company, after 6 months, there's nothing progress, right? There's no progress for the first 6 months.
Yeah.
And then even after the next 6 months, there's not much progress.
Yeah.
So what kept you motivating during that period?
So Couple of things. One is I'm a die-hard optimist. I really am. This is not it's not a joke of an answer, I mean it. I'm really a die-hard optimist. And I think you need some of that, you know. You need some of that when you're working on something that you truly believe in, and all indications are you haven't figured it out. But I'll tell you another thing that helped me, you know, keep going. See, at a startup, especially a product startup, what are you really trying to do? If you're trying to think about it as gears, right? You have a product, you have a market. And these are two gears, and they need to lock. They need to lock smoothly and then create that one machine. If they lock right, your startup will take off because your product found its market. And at least in the short term, now you may not have found a $25 million market, but you may have found a $1 million market. That's fine. But you need those gears to lock. When I got into it, I knew that it would take time. I knew it would take years. So it was disheartening that nobody was using our product. It was not disheartening that our company had not gotten anywhere yet. I knew there was iteration involved. I figured, okay, we got to do Sharat also. Both of us felt, yeah, man, we got something wrong. Okay, let's try this. Let's try Y and Z and P and Q. And you have to just keep trying things out. The thing is, though, if you lose fundamental belief in your idea, then that's a very different story, right? I mean, what happens a lot of times is entrepreneurs, they go to investors a lot. And they get a lot of feedback from investors. They're always seeking feedback from investors. And that's actually a little dangerous. In my personal view, you shouldn't ever overdo it. Because investors will find 25 things that are wrong with your current plan, your current traction, and your plan for the next 6 months, and all the things that could go wrong in the next 6 months. There'll always be all these reasons that you will fail. And so if you keep talking to people like that, they don't have to be investors. In certain cases, they can be your family as well. That can really get you down. So it's important perhaps to not be exposed too much to that kind of energy, right? They're always telling you this is not going to work. There's no market for this stuff. By the way, we got a lot of that, right? I mean, at that time, many people didn't understand product companies. Today, it's a very different story. There are quite a few companies like us that are doing it, but not at that time. So anyway, going back to your specific question, what kept me going? I knew it's going to take a while. I knew it's going to be 3 years, 4 years before we go somewhere that is, you know, considered perhaps some progress. I didn't think anything would happen in the first 6 months or a year in terms of the company overall. You know, I had gotten disillusioned about specific tactical measures we had taken, but I was not disillusioned about the company as a whole. But the other thing really was, our company was betting on mobile. So the whole seed of the idea came from the insight that the future of internet consumption was on mobile devices. I got my first smartphone in 2006. I had a Windows Mobile, T-Mobile phone back in the US. And I used to use it a lot. I used to use it a lot more than a lot of my other friends were using their regular phones. And I used to use the internet on it a lot. That insight led to the world is going to move to this. And I could see it around me, right? More and more people buying phones, buying smartphones. There was no iPhone at that time. Then iPhone came along. Then Android came along. And with all those things happening around me, Sharat and I both very strongly felt that the direction we had picked for our company was right. We had bet on the right thing. We had not bet on, say, you know, horse racing suddenly becoming more popular amongst a certain community in India. We were not doing something like that, not that obscure. It was a pretty broad trend. You could look around you and tell that mobiles were getting more and more, you know, prevalent in terms of smartphone usage, internet usage. So we said, look, this is going to get figured out. What we have to do is figure out how to align with this as a company. Which part of the macro trend do you take advantage of? So we said, we'll stick with it. And you know, having a little bit of funding helps, because that way you can sustain yourself while you're still trying to figure it out. Yeah.
And finding your investors and successful in your business, have you not now feel anything more challenging with the people management, or anything which you feel is more challenging right now? Okay.
What's your name? I'm sorry.
Chandravadanam.
So, first of all, I don't think that we have really succeeded. To be completely honest with you, there's still a lot more to do on revenue growth, on customer growth, all those other things. But you're right. I mean, there's a lot of challenges. There's challenges with raising money, investors. There's challenges with employees and all that. There are lots of challenges. To be honest, there are like 20 things that bother me in a week, on average. As an entrepreneur, you just have to decide which 4 of them you want to focus on for that week and move on. There are always way many more challenges than you can handle, in a month or a week or whatever the case may be. And so to answer your question, I think I find all aspects challenging. Perhaps people management is not as complex right now because we're not a very big firm. We're about 20 people. And we've also hired certain kinds of people, so there's a lot of passion in the team and all that. So we don't have some of the typical challenges yet. They will certainly appear as we grow bigger.
I'd like to end with one philosophical question.
Sure.
I think you made your premise early on was that if you're doing a job that you love, then you won't work even a single day in your life.
Right.
But isn't it true that if there's something you love, whether it's coding or writing or whatever, you actually start doing it as a profession, doesn't it kind of become work? I mean, that you really lose okay, you like to code, but if you have to code every day for the rest of your life, I mean, very quickly it becomes work, right? It becomes a chore. I mean, I'm a writer, part-time writer, but I think if I ever became a full-time writer, I'd probably hate it because then you have all these deadlines to meet and you have so many words that you have to put out, because then you're committed. You have external commitments
Sure.
instead of just an internally, driven passion.
Sure.
How do you handle that?
Well, actually, to be very honest, even philosophically, we have lots of deadlines and we have lots of things that we need to get done. Every single day, as an entrepreneur, as a coder, whatever the case may be. And the thing is, to be very honest with you, unless we're in very, very, very stressful situations where I have not slept for a week, say more than 3 hours a day, unless you have a situation like that, even though there are deadlines, even though there are things to get done, even though there are commitments, I just enjoy it. I never consider it, this is so much work, I wish it was not this way. I've personally not felt that way about what it is that I do. Of course, everyone has an internal, balance between what work is and what life is. And I think everyone should decide for themselves. Assuming you're maintaining a reasonable balance, when I'm at the office, when I'm working, I know there are deadlines, I never feel it. I never feel like it's work. That's my take on it.
Let's thank Ravi again for a fascinating talk. And actually, we have someone in the audience here from one of your customers. Maybe I'll ask Mr. Mohan from the Hindu to hand the memento.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Wow, this is really nice. Thank you. Yeah.
That's been gold-plated.
Wow.
I think at the back there's a